the B-25 Mitchell bomber presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let's send our attention to the B-25. Hi guys, good afternoon. My name is Ghost Rider Scott of Midway Ride. We do appreciate you guys very much. We are here to talk about the North American B-25 bomber. All right, the bomber of the B-25. And there are a lot of facts about the B-25, and you guys are here to spend it with me here as the B-25 bomber is probably one of the most unique warbird bombers in the world. So of course you got um, the B-25 bomber, which is also known as the North American B-25 bomber. So the North American B-25 is an American medium bomber that was introduced in 1941 and named in honor of Brigadier General William Billy Mitchell, pioneer of U.S. military aviation, and used many Allied air forces. The B-25 served in every theater of World War II. Um, that was served in World War II, and the B-25 served after the war ended. Many remained in service, operating across the decades to produce in numerous variants of the B-25. Nearly 10,000 B-25s were built. It was most product American medium bomber and the third most produced American bomber overall. These included several limited models such as the F-10 and the A-24 Crew Trainer and the United States Marine Corps PBJ-1 patrol bomber. And that's what the B-25 had a little um, info there. The designs and developments of the B-25 guys. On 11th of March 1939, the U.S. Army Air Corps issued proposal number 39640, specifying a medium bomber capable of carrying a 3,000 bombs, 3,000 pounds, 1,000 kilometers bomb load over a range of 2,000 miles, 3,200 at top speed and access of at 300 knots for the B-25. North American Aviation used its NA-40B design to develop the NA-62 propulsor, more state-of-the-art compared to the competing Martin number 179 proposal. The North American team included easy field maintenance and repair features of the B-25. It is a chance that the B-25 was actually a very capable bomber in World War II. Um, there's been a lot that we've done with it, and the B-25 is absolutely a phenomenal aircraft. No, no point that the B-25 has. I think the B-25 is probably one of the most capable warbirds, and the flying of the B-25 is phenomenal. The B-25 was a safe and forgiving aircraft to fly. So in World War II, the B-25 was capable. It was forgiving and safe to fly. And with one engine out, 60 banking turns into the dead engine were possible. And it was easy to control the bomber with one engine. Um, it was easily maintained down to 145 miles per hour, or the pilot had to remember to maintain engine out if control at low speeds after takeoff with rudder. So they used the rudder. They had rudder pedals that they stepped on the pedals and that's why the tail moves. That's why the tail moves. So that's that for the B-25. The tricycle landing gear made for excellent visibility while taxing. So the B-25, most airplanes, most warbirds, in my opinion, were are hard aircraft to taxi with. And when I say taxi with, I mean like the Corsair because you sometimes have to look over outside the cockpit, like making sure that you're staying on the course. And it is very easy to taxi with the B-25. Uh, the only significant complaint about the B-25 was its extremely noisy engines. So when you're sitting in the cockpit of the B-25 bomber, most pilots of the B-25 wore earplugs because it's awfully loud. It's super loud inside the airplane, and the airplane was very loud inside, where pilots needed to wear earplugs. Um, many pilots even so most of the pilots that didn't wear earplugs or headsets or anything, they did go deaf because of how loud the engine is. So if you look at the B-25, like right here on this picture, guys, what you're looking at is there's the engine of the B-25. So the engine on both sides. So you have the wings, you've got the propellers just like this on both sides, which you're sitting by, and it's very loud, and it is super loud. So a lot of pilots have gone deaf from it, from all the noise inside the cockpit. The Mitchell was sturdy and it could withstand tremendous punishment. One B-25C of the 321st Bombs Group was nicknamed Patches because its crew chief painted all the aircraft. Hole patches. There was patches in the B-25 from all the bullets that they fired, and it was hitting the airplane. And what happened was when it was hitting the airplane, it was totally um, ricocheted off the plane and left holes. So they patched it up. That's why it's called patches. With bright yellow zinc. So they used bright yellow zinc to patch up the holes with it. Um, The B-25 actually flew over to the Asia Pacific. Most B-25s in America will serve service were used in war against Japan in Asia and Pacific. The Mitchell fought from the north to the South Pacific and the Far East. These areas include the campaigns of Altan Island, Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, New Britain, China, Burma, and the islands hopping campaign in the Central Pacific. So the B-25s went from um, all over, and as well as the Doolittle air raids. Have you guys ever heard about the Doolittle air raids? They were the aircraft potential as ground attack aircraft emerged during the Pacific War. So they used the B-25s, the Doolittle air raids. If you remember those, if you remember the history about the Doolittle air raids, that's what it's about right there. Um, using similar or let's see, we're just rating info. Middle East and Italy. Now the first B-25 arrived in Egypt. So when the first B-25 bomber was uh, that arrived in Egypt and were carrying out independent oper- operations by October 1942. Operations there against Axis airfields and motorized vehicles. Columns supported the ground actions of the Second Battle of El Alamein, and thereafter the aircraft took part in the Rest Campaign in the north of Africa, the invasion of Sicilia, and the advance up to Italy. So first they went to Egypt, and after Egypt they went up to Italy in the Strait of Messina to the Aegean Island or Sea. The B-25 conducted sea sweeps as part of the coastal air force in Italy. The B-25 was used on the ground attack role for the B-25s, and they also had a Douglas A-20 Hovac and Douglas A-26 Invader, allowing it to reach further into the occupied Europe. So they used the A-20 and they used the Invader, which is the A-26 Invader. If anybody has seen one of those planes are crazy. They're kind of like a B-25, just with a single tail, and very crazy aircraft. And in October of 1943, the Ninth Air Force 340th was transferred from the African and Mediterranean Theater in England in support of assault on Germany. In November 1944, the medium bombers eliminated the use of electrical locomotives along Brenner Pass. That was in Europe. So um, B-25s are great aircraft. I enjoy watching them. They're loud. You would need hearing protection. And yes, the pilots that use them now do have earplugs. Oh, excuse me. Uh, use as a gunship. Okay, B-25s were used as a gunship. Um, the USAAF had an urgent need for hard-hitting aircraft. The North American responded with the B-25G in the series. The transparent nose and Bombardier Navigator position was changed for a shorter hatched nose with two fixed, .50 and 12.7 millimeters machine guns and manually loaded 75 millimeters 2.95 in M4 cannon. So the B-25 series continued the development of the gunship version NAA Inglewood produced in 1000. The H had even more firepower, so the B-25H, there's different lettering. There's a G, there's a H. Um, the H has more firepower. So when you were firing those machine guns at the other aircraft, it was the H and more firepower. Most replaced the M4 gun with the lighter T-13U1 designed specifically for the aircraft, but 20 odd H-1 block aircraft completed the Republic Aviation Modification Center at Evansville. Had the M4 and the two machine gun nose armament. The 75 millimeter gun fired at a muzzle velocity of 2,362 720. Due to its low rate of fire, about 4 rounds could be fired in a single strafing run. So it goes boom, 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 boom. So if you hear boom, 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 like during air shows, that is a reenacting of strafe runs. The H series of the B-25 normally came from the factory mounting 4 fixed forward firing .5 .50 and 2.7 millimeters machine guns in the nose. So they used their machine guns in the nose of the airplane and started going to town. Flank mount gun pod packages, 2 guns per side of the aircraft, 2 more in the main dorsal. The H model, the H had a modified cockpit, so it was more modified than any other B-25. So the B-25, the original model, the G model, and now the H model. The H model had modified their cockpit a little bit better with single flight controls operated. I don't want to go down. We will be right back, guys. We will resume here with our presentation with the B-25. Give me one moment. All right, guys, we are back. Um, the most recent B-25 returned to a medium bomber, the final of the most numerous series of the Mitchell. The B-25J looked less like the earlier B-25s, apart from well-glazed Bombardier nose of nearly appearance to the earliest B-25 subtypes. So you take a whole bunch of B-25. So you get the H model that had its modified cockpit redone, and everything looked good there. You got the G model, and now you have the J model, which was more the standard looking B-25s. Instead of the J, followed the overall configuration of the H series of the cockpit. It had the forward dorsal um, mm, H series from the cockpit. It had the forward dorsal turret and other airframes involved with the B-25s. Um, the U.S. Navy and U.S. MBMC, the U.S. Navy design of the B-25 Mitchell was the PBJ-1, similar to the PBJ-1C and the PBJ-1D, reflected their Air Force. Night Search PBJs incorporated a retractable AP3 or APS3 random scope under the pre-1962 USN, USMC, USCG aircraft system. PBJ-1 stood the patrol bomber built by North American Aviation, first variant under the existing American Naval, and designed in the early 1943. Ooh. Ooh. The Navy took the delivery of initial 706 B-25s assigned to the Marine Corps for patrol and anti-submarine duties. From 1944 onwards, the Marine PBJs flew from the Philippines and Sapon, Awajima, and Okinawa. Their primary missions was radar-directed night strikes against enemy shipping. Weapons included a 5-inch HVAR rocket and the 11.75 Tiny Tim rocket. Long-range night operations meant more fuel with weight reductions achieved, removing the top turret and slide blisters from the aircraft. So a little bit about that. During the war, the Navy tested the Cannon RMG series and conducted carrier trials with an H equipped with arresting gear. After World War II, some PBJs stationed. Let's see. Stationed at the Navy's Rocket Laboratory in Inyocorn, California, site of the present-day Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake, tested air-to-ground rockets. One agreement was a twin barrel nose that could fire 10 spin-stabilized 5-inch rockets in the Slovo. So that's some interesting facts about the B-25. The Royal Air Force Great Britain received 910 B-25s during World War II, but many returned afterwards. So most of them returned, or the other parts, the other B-25s returned afterwards. Let's see here. During so there was so many different wars that the different things that the B-25s had. So during World War II, the Mitchell served in fairly large numbers with the Air Force of the Dutch government in exile. They participated in combat in the East Indies as well on the European front on 30th June of 1941. The Netherlands Purchasing Commission, acting on behalf of the Dutch government in exile in London, signed a contract with the North American Aviation for the B-25s. Netherlands East Indies to help deter any Japanese threats and expansion on the region. In February 1942, the British Overseas Airways corporations agreed to ferry 20 Dutch B-25s from Florida to Australia, traveling via Africa and India, and an additional 10 via the South Pacific route from California during March. Five of the uh, five of the bombers on the Dutch order had reached Bangalore, India, and 12 had reached uh, Archfield in Australia. The B-25s in Australia were used as the nucleus of New Squadron Number 18, Netherlands, and in June of 1940, number 320 Netherlands Squadron RAF had been formed from personnel formerly served with the Royal Dutch Naval Air Service. In March of 1943, they acquired the B-25 Mark II and three Mitchells. In October 1944, they developed to Belgium, but then disbanded in August of 1945. The USSR received 862 B-25 bombers. There was B, C, D, and G and J types of B-25s. But well over 100 B-25s C's and D's were supplied to the nationalist Chinese during the Second Sino-Japanese War, and unknown number were abandoned with the retreat to Formosa. So during the war and after World War II, Brazil received 80. So they received 80 B-25s with the first delivery prior to December 1941. Variants The initial production versions of B-25s, they were powered by 1,350 HP and carried up to 3,600 pounds of bombs in defensive arrangements of 330 machine guns in the nose, waist, and ventral positions with one. That's the B-25. Then they also had the B-25A, B-25C, B, C, D. There's also the F-10 designed, which was the um, other B-25s. So the B-25 was usually a good aircraft serving in World War II and stuff like that. So, does anybody have any questions about the B-25 bomber? Does anybody have questions about the B-25? Feel free to ask me. The B-25 was a great aircraft. It still is a great aircraft, and you can see B-25s all over from different, like if you watch them from different air shows or stuff like that. From different air shows, the B-25 is a great aircraft. We absolutely love the B-25s. Still today, as part of the Warbirds, um, B-25s are very important to our industry. Warbirds are in general. If you see a man or woman in uniform, make sure you thank them for their service. Thank them for what they have done for serving. So at this time, does anybody have any questions? I'm available to try to answer my best questions as possible about the B-25 bomber. We got 11 people here, 6 likes. Thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate you. All righty then, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching, everybody. God bless you. And we will see you for another virtual one tomorrow, folks. Peace out, guys.